I am not playing it yet. Let me know when you fight. Well, I just re-rolled it. We can't hear anything.
I can't hear anything.
So I'm just re-rolling this. We're live, girls.
No, but you haven't run the intro.
I started running it, but you couldn't hear anything. So
Yeah.
you gotta fix something here.
Yes, because you can't hear anything. We'll have to. I mean, we got 1,000 people in there. Okay. Yeah, no guess? For a Tyler Warren, for an Ashton Genty, that is out the window. They stand pat at number 20, and we are just 2.5 minutes away from finding out who will be their first selection in the 2025 NFL Draft. There are some names that we thought it might be that are no longer on the table. Ashton Genty, the aforementioned, goes way higher than expected. And to the Raiders, no less, a division rival. So not to the Jaguars at number 5, but he doesn't fall past number 6. We saw a crazy trade at the top of the draft between the Cleveland Browns and the Jacksonville Jaguars that led to the Jaguars, not the Browns, selecting wide receiver cornerback Travis Hunter. He gets to stay in his hometown and play for the professional organization in the home state that he is so familiar with. And frankly, it's a team that'll let him play both ways. So a pretty fun, interesting situation there for Travis. The first tight end off the board was not Tyler Warren, the electric tight end out of Penn State. It was, in fact, Colston Loveland, and he goes 10th overall to the Chicago Bears. So the love affair that Sean Payton reportedly had with Colston Loveland, as was reported by Daniel Jeremiah and others, doesn't have to worry about it. That is a love that is going to have to wait until 2 or 3 more heartbreaks down the road, potentially, for Sean Payton. The other tight end, Tyler Warren, doesn't make it past the Colts at number 14. So it's probably not looking like tight end for the Broncos in the first round. There are defensive tackles potentially still available on the board, although Walter Nolan just went off the board a handful of picks ago. Inside of 1 minute now until the Denver Broncos make their selection. Will it be Omarion Hampton, the running back out of North Carolina, who was incredibly commonly marked to the Denver Broncos to fill a void left by Javonte Williams in a room that, even with Javonte Williams as the lead back, with Jaleel McLaughlin and Roderick Estime, was abysmal for the majority of the games this season, despite the fact that the box score might tell you they were a middle-of-the-pack rushing team. Let's not forget how inflated those stats may have been because of Bo Nix's legs and his ability to carry the offense as he did for so long. And we have reached a moment. The pick is in. The Denver Broncos have made their selection. They have turned that card into Roger Goodell, and we are moments away from finding out who George Paton and Sean Payton have spent the entirety of the last offseason, from the time they were knocked out in the wild card weekend by the Buffalo Bills to this moment. We will now know who will be the first draft pick in the Bo Nix era to complement the young quarterback in his sophomore season. We can see Sean and George and the rest of the Broncos coalition in the war room right now on your television in Inglewood, Colorado. And I got to be honest with you, everything to me is screaming running back here. Is it Omarion Hampton? Is it Travion Henderson, the speedy back out of Ohio State, who was, if you remember, the best pass-protecting running back in this draft? A trait in the running back position that Sean Payton values very, very much, because that is why Javonte Williams was so prominent and prevalent in the offense despite being so ineffective. We are just seconds away now. Ian Rappaport is giving a report here really quickly, and it looks like the pick is in. And I have a feeling it is going to be a surprise to some people because that is not a name that I would have thought. And we'll see if social media is correct on that. We see Roger Goodell walking out onto the stage right now. And boy, I got to tell you, this is going to be a head scratcher, I think. Not necessarily that it wouldn't be at a position of need, but when you've got needs at tight end, needs at defensive tackle, needs at running back, frankly, needs at wide receiver, it apparently is being thrown at caution to the wind as the Broncos, Roger Goodell standing up on the stage right now, ready to give a selection with a Make-A-Wish Foundation member whose name is Samuel up on the stage. And oh boy, Brad Williams, hilarious comedian and longtime Broncos fan, very vocal about the success of the young quarterback Bo Nix. This is going to be a fun one. This is going to be a fun one. Here it is. Let's see who they select after the hyping up of the crowd. We are right here. The environment here in the sportsbook right now is on pins and needles. Everyone is hush hush. Their phones are out. And with the 20th pick in the 2025 NFL Draft, the Denver Broncos select cornerback JBaron out of Texas, a 5'10", 194-pound cornerback out of Texas. He is somebody who's been comped at the NFL level to Cooper DeJean. You'll remember him from the Super Bowl Philadelphia Eagles and somebody who was making an impact right away. But, man, you've got a team with an all-pro defensive player of the year in Pat Surtain. You invested in the cornerback position and seemed to hit on a middle-round pick in Riley Moss. And then you go JBaron in the first round of the 2025 NFL Draft. He was a first-team AP All-American, JBaron, out of Texas in this past season. But this, I can promise you, was not a Sean Payton pick. Nothing about this screams George Paton more than what we are witnessing right here. I am stunned a little bit, frankly. I did not think that this was going to be the direction that the Broncos went in the first maybe 2 or 3 rounds, let alone the first pick in their draft. Oh boy, we might have to try. I'm going to get my computer screen set up here. We might have to get into some comments and some reaction here from you, Broncos country, because I'm a little bit lost. All of the preparation that we did, talking about the positions of need and the speculation, I can't tell you a single mock draft that I saw from anyone that had JBaron. This selection would have won you so much money on the sports gambling app if you were able to find action on the Broncos to take a cornerback with the 20th pick in the draft. That is, listen, cornerback is definitely a position, in my opinion, that you probably can't have too much depth at. We've seen the likes of Jamari Mathis and Levi Wallace and others here in Broncos country get shelled by the air raid offenses in today's NFL. So injuries to Patrick Surtain, there was a dip when Pat Surtain had to miss a game or two and Riley Moss had to miss some time. We did notice a significant dip in the effectiveness of Vance Joseph's defense just this past season when there was depth testing at the cornerback position. But holy cow. Now I guess the question is Shedeur Sanders about to become a member of the Pittsburgh Steelers? Because the Broncos is throwing me in such a curveball, I'm not sure that I know what direction is up and whether or not I'm going to be able to figure out where Shedeur's going to go. He's already slid to the point where, you know, teams could be looking to trade back up if the Steelers don't select him. And that was kind of the meridian line, the fall point, was the 21st pick, that a team could try to leapfrog and jump up and try to trade back into the round to get Shedeur Sanders. But man, my head is spinning a little bit with JBaron as the eventual selection by the Denver Broncos. And where do we go? Where do we go from there? As I'm getting my computer up here so that I can get your reactions here, Broncos country, to the selection that we just made. You tell me, Joey. Go ahead and throw any comments up on the screen that we've got going here, because I'm a little bit confused, and I think that George Paton strikes again from Tom Trujillo. Tom, I totally agree with you, man. I am frankly stunned at this selection and what it could mean. Now, listen, if you've got, we saw the impact that Patrick Surtain, who was drafted in the top 15, can make on the Broncos defense and turn it around. Yeah, from Derek, bye-bye Riley Moss. I guess, maybe, right? Riley Moss played really well, except for getting hurt. I thought he had pretty good. And there it is, the Pittsburgh Steelers pass on Shedeur Sanders for the defensive tackle, Derek Harmon out of Oregon, somebody that we projected the Broncos might be interested in taking. Derek Harmon, Bo Nix's former teammate, gives them help on the defensive line, something that the Broncos are going to need in 2026 when they've got John Franklin Myers, Zach Allen, and the like up for contract extension. You've got 3 defensive tackles that are going to be up for contract extensions. And they not only don't take a defensive tackle, they take a cornerback, and then Pittsburgh takes, with Shedeur Sanders on the board and no quarterback of record to speak of, takes Derek Harmon, the defensive tackle out of Oregon. And this right here, make no mistake, this is why Shedeur Sanders did not attend the draft, and he was counseled by Dion not to do so, because there's nothing more painful than being in the draft room right there on draft day and sliding the way that we saw Will Levis, the way that we saw Lamar Jackson back in 2018, the way that we saw Brady Quinn. I am fascinated to know what's going to happen here. The next 4 picks in the draft are the Chargers, Packers, Vikings, and Texans, 4 teams that don't need quarterbacks. So unless a team trades up and those teams are willing to trade back, you're looking at a situation where Shedeur Sanders is dangerously close to falling into the bottom and potentially out of the first round of the draft. And boy, the firestorm that will start on social media. There was a serious push in narrative towards Shedeur in a negative way that I think is manifesting itself live here on draft night. Dan, this could be the end of the Sean Payton era. Okay, I'm not going to go that far. Come on, Dan. Daniel, I'm gonna full name you on that one, Daniel. Sean Payton, I think, has done so much in just a short 2-year span to reestablish culture and rebuild kind of a foundation for the Broncos to build upon after almost a decade of abysmal football. I'm not going to say that one pick like this is going to be the undoing, especially if he turns out to be Pat Surtain 2.0. Because even if it's not the pick you needed in that moment, it's a tradable asset, and you can't have too much depth. And from a lockdown corner perspective, from Skunk Life, and I'm sure he helps old ladies across the street too. He's not what we need. You know what? Maybe not. Maybe he's not what we need in this moment. But again, sometimes it's better to be prepared for a situation that you haven't foreseen yet. Sometimes you don't know what you need until you need it. And again, the margin for error with this Broncos team on both sides of the ball, as we saw when certain injuries tested certain players, is slim. Let's go. Great pick, Broncos. Okay, some positivity, ironically, from Captain Evil. Let's go. Great pick, Broncos. Jeremy McLeod, no fly zone 2.0. See, maybe there's a thought process there. I don't think that a lot of us were complaining about having an embarrassment of riches in the secondary when it was Chris Harris, Akeem Talib, TJ Ward, and Darian Stewart. Now, some of those are free agent pickups, and not all of those were taken in the first round in the top 20 of the NFL draft. We have Surtain and Moss. We got it. Derek, I agree. George Paton must know something that I don't. Tom, okay, fire George Paton? Listen, he's probably, if one of the Paytons is getting fired, it ain't Sean. So he would be the Payton on the chopping block. But he must know something we don't, guys. Dean, can somebody remind me who the running back is this year? Dean, I'll remind you, as of right now, it's Audric Estime and Jaleel McLaughlin, and it's pretty damn uninspiring. But okay, to Dean and the rest of you out there, let's play a little game here. Let's say Travion Henderson does not go in the first round. Omarion Hampton still hasn't been picked, and we're nearing pick 25. Could we see a situation where the Denver Broncos, the way Sean Payton did when he drafted Mark Ingram, trade back up into the first round in order to select a player at a position like running back where they need. So, Dean, we saw Sean Payton do this when a defensive player fell further than he thought would be there. And it was kind of the analogy that they used where they were looking for a blender, but a set of fine crystal glassware fell right into their laps. And they weren't going to step over that crystal glassware just because they needed a blender. Could we see a situation where this defensive player was one of the few remaining first round grades on their board and they were not going to overreach or overdraft, and that potentially they could look to get that player on day 2 or trade back into the back end of this evening with let's see what they were at 22 with 10 picks remaining to try to select a second player, which again has happened during Sean Payton's tenure. Maybe they trade back into the bottom. Exactly. See? LV Orange Crush. I'm with you. I think there's a chance. Now, you got to be, if you want to dance, you got to be willing to have a partner that wants to swing with you. So who knows what these teams might want to do, but in a draft class and a first round that the consensus was there might only be 14 or 15 picks that have a true first round grade. I could see a team with pick 27, 28 saying, you know what? If we slide back a little bit, we recoup some assets, and we're still going to get a player graded pretty near to where we had him, maybe they will dance with the Broncos. From Dev, there is lots of depth at running back. You're right. Outside of Ashton Genty, the board is theirs. The board is there. Omarion Hampton has not been selected. Travion Henderson, Quinshawn Judkins, Caleb Johnson. There are plenty of running backs. Devin Neal. And that's just talking about running backs who are projected to be first round or early day 2 picks. There are other running backs in the middle rounds that you could potentially add as depth pieces as well. Who's the running back they expect to help with this year? But Derek, as of right now, they aren't expecting anyone. But we'll see. The night is young. It is not over. And there is potential, given the way the board has fallen thus far through 22 picks, for one of Omarion Hampton and or Travion Henderson and or Quinshawn Judkins, 3 running backs that the Broncos did a lot of homework on and in some cases went to go visit, could still be there on day 2 with the ability to move up if needed to go get them where they currently sit around 51. So, Derek, as of right now, the running back room kind of sucks. I'm with you. This, to me, screamed Omarion Hampton. But the argument, because now we got to take ourselves into the mind of George Paton and Sean Payton, right? The argument for this cornerback in JBaron had to be so strong to override the need at offense at the running back position. The tight ends had already gone off the board, so that was an easy one. But defensive tackle, including Derek Harmon, who went 1 pick later to the Steelers, was still there. George Paton, who you can say what you want about his tenure as a GM, he is an excellent talent evaluator and scouting mind. And if he sees something in this guy, he had to have such a compelling argument to choose him over those other needs that I just don't know in this moment. But I think we will find out very soon. Value pick of the draft so far. Jeremy? Well, okay. It's good to see a little bit of positivity because I got to be honest with you. When I saw that name come across the screen, my first thoughts were not positive. Denver going to trade for Brees. That is an option. The Jets have made it known, made it aware that Brees Hall, their star running back in the first round from a handful of years ago, is available for any specific bidder. He's dealt with some injuries himself, but when healthy, Brees Hall's electric, man. Ironically, another UNC running back. So maybe we'll do better with him than we did with Javonte. Remember when Riley Moss got hurt? Deb, I mentioned it, that when Pat Surtain missed like a game, so it was easier to mask. But when Riley Moss got hurt and we had to watch Levi Wallace get absolutely burnt to a crisp by the Jameis Winston-led Cleveland Browns and Jerry Jeudy, that was kind of a warning blip and a warning sign, I think, for a lot of Broncos country about how quickly things can change if depth is tested at the wrong position. We should have drafted a punter. All right, come on, man. The Broncos do have a history of letting go of punters who then go and succeed on in other places. They brought back Riley Dixon for a second stint. Now they have jettisoned him again. So a lot of room in Peyton's mind. That's a good one. I'm going to use that one next time I'm frustrated with him this season. Yeah, just like you saw in Russell Wilson. Okay, listen. Here's my thought on GM. Okay, because I feel like we get this a lot. You cannot, Tom, and to the rest of you out there, I don't think it's fair to say you need to be um, expected to hit on 100% of those picks. Okay, you're gonna miss. This game of football is not an exact science, and so I don't know, um, you know, how you want to individually grade it out. But I think George Paton has hit on a fair amount of picks. And we're waiting to see here. We may be joined by some fellow fan compatriots here very shortly to get their reaction to a pretty insane pick. In JBaron. Again, if you're just joining us, the Broncos selected cornerback JBaron out of Texas with the 20th overall pick, ignoring running back, ignoring tight end, ignoring defensive tackles. And it's got us buzzing a little bit. The Broncos are still allergic to scoring points. Lance, we're hoping that the sophomore season with Bo Nix helps that. But we're hoping that the sophomore season with Bo Nix helps that. But again, in order for that to continue to progress, he needs weapons. And there you go. We are now seeing a situation where two division rivals for the Denver Broncos in the Las Vegas Raiders and the Los Angeles Chargers have added impact players at the running back position as Omarion Hampton, the running back out of North Carolina, goes to the LA Chargers, not the Denver Broncos. Yep, Omarion Hampton goes to the LA Chargers, and Ashton Jeanty goes number 6 overall to the Las Vegas Raiders. So the AFC West, as tightly contested as it is already, and as competitive as it is at the quarterback position, now is making a very clear statement that this division is going to be won with smash mouth, run the ball football, and the Broncos are sitting there without a running back. So a running back for now. But we do know that if the Broncos take a running back in the 25 NFL draft, it will now not be Omarion Hampton who goes to the Chargers. All right, we're going to take some time to digest this one. We are going to see what what happens in the back end of the first round as we sit at pick 23 with every pick that goes by with Minnesota, Houston, the Rams, Baltimore, Detroit. These are not teams that I think are going to be dying to trade out of the first round. You could make an argument that they might be because they're already successful, but these are not teams I think that are going to be just super willing to bargain for a Broncos team if they did want to try to do what Sean Payton's done in the past and trade back up into the first round to select another impact player. So this could be it for the Denver Broncos tonight. And I'll tell you what, as we sign off now, if and when the Denver Broncos do pick again this evening, if they decide to be bold and give Sean Payton something that he wants, when it's clear George Paton has gotten what he wants with the 20th overall pick, we will sign back on and we'll do this whole shindig again. Thank you all so much for joining us from the Sportsbook Bar Grill in DTC. We are live on the rundown on the road. And I think we're going to make a little bit more of a regular thing about this because this has been pretty fun. But until then, we'll see you next time.